I think everyone immediately looks at what they did this offseason. They signed Fred VanVleet to a pretty expensive contract, a 3-year, $130 million contract. The third year is a team option. They did sign Dylan Brooks to a 4-year, $80 million contract, which some would say is definitely an overpay. In my eyes, I think he definitely was rightfully paid. Really, just like the things that we're looking at for him, he definitely needs to work on, and I'll talk about it more in the video. Also signed vets in Jock Lawndale and Jeff Green. I think the Lawndale signing was actually a pretty good thing for this Rockets team, having that backup center position locked in, and Jeff Green providing that championship experience that he had last season with the Denver Nuggets. So we're here talking about the new look Houston Rockets going into the 2023-2024 season. I think this team, they definitely have a lot of potential going into the season. I think, with a lot of things going on for this team, year 3, Jalen Green, year 3, Alperen Sengun, year 2, Jabari, year 2, Tari Eason, we're going to have a lot of things to look out for this Rockets team. And I think there's going to be a lot of potential and a lot of hope for this team in the future. So I do want to talk about their draftees from the draft this summer. They did draft Amen Thompson, one of 2 Thompson brothers, and Cam Whitmore. So they chose Amen Thompson at number 4. He did play one game of the Summer League where he went pretty nuclear in that one game. Did have that ankle sprain at the end, so it was kind of unfortunate we didn't get to see him play too many games outside of one. But outside of that sample size, I think we got a pretty good idea of what we're going to be getting out of Amen Thompson, a guy that's going to be playing some pretty physical defense, a guy that can just look for the open man, and I think his court vision and his playmaking off the bench is going to be a pretty good thing for this Rockets team. Obviously, they could experiment with some lineups. I think Amen at the 1, VanVleet at the 2, and then maybe Jalen at the 3 could be an interesting lineup depending on what happens. I know injuries and some things are going to be going on during the season, so obviously the lineup isn't going to be, concrete. But I think they could definitely mix and match some lineups with guys off the bench. I think KPJ could work at the 3. I think Amen could play like the point forward position for this team, which definitely isn't too much of a stretch judging from him in the first Summer League game he played. Definitely did a lot of great things on both sides of the floor. I wouldn't say like a Ben Simmons or Draymond Green, but could play similar to that in a sense. So looking at their second draftee, they got Cam Whitmore, who was projected to be a top 5 pick, and they got him at 20. Definitely the steal of the draft. I think going into this season, he may or may not get some more minutes or get some minutes. Jayshawn Tate still on the team. I don't know why that's still a thing. I think he might have a pretty okay year, Cam Whitmore, depending on if he gets minutes. Obviously, if he doesn't, G League time for him wouldn't be too horrible. But I do think he is NBA ready, and looking at his overall Summer League highlights, he definitely can be an NBA ready guy for this Houston Rockets team that could use all the help they can get. I mean, I think the bench, they're going to be okay. KPJ and Amen Thompson with Jock Lawndale, with Cam Whitmore, Jayshawn Tate. Pretty solid bench right there. But I think getting Cam Whitmore playing time off the bench could definitely be good for his development in his career. So we'll talk about year 2, Jabari Smith, and year 2, Tari Eason. I think Jabari, this season, he has to take a leap. I think last season in his rookie year definitely wasn't too impressive, but also definitely wasn't horrible. Now, I think Jabari Smith, he's going to be fine. He's going to be more or less like a 3-and-D type of player for this Rockets team, and they really don't need him to be that type of star. But I definitely would like to see more out of Jabari Smith. I think he definitely has probably the highest potential, one of the highest potentials on this team. And moving forward, I'm really hoping that he becomes that solidified 3-and-D guy that he was in Auburn. Coming out of Auburn, he was that guy, being able to knock down the 3 at a consistent rate. So I'll look at his stats a little bit on his rookie year. I think he definitely had a pretty underwhelming rookie season. He put up around 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist on around 41 from the field and 31 from 3. Definitely not the most efficient season, but going into year 2 and him putting some work in the lab could definitely prove some haters wrong this season. So Tari Eason is definitely, I would say, an interesting player for this Rockets team. We all know as Rockets fans what he's able to do. Someone that's going to be able to play some great on-ball defense, a great help defender, someone that can rebound the ball. And he's doing all this at being a forward. I mean, looking at his height, if I can find Tari Eason, he is around 6'8", and he's grabbing rebounds, grabbing offensive rebounds. I think his rookie year definitely was hindered by Steven Silas and just him not playing him that much. Going into this season, he may or may not still be a bench player depending on how Ime Udoka runs the offense, but I think he might go with Dylan Brooks as the small forward, full-time small forward, but injuries will happen, and I think Tariq Eason being that 3 or 4 could definitely be a good benefit for this Rockets team. So going into his second season, I'd see him more I'd see him more as like an on-ball type of guy, maybe getting up some more shots. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to be a pretty good player for this Rockets team coming into year 2 for him. So looking at some other things for the Houston Rockets, we'll talk about the year 3 leap from Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün. So what I'm looking for from Jalen Green this season is taking that next step on offense. I think if he's able to be that consistent scorer at all 3 levels, I think he's going to be pretty much our number 1 guy to go to on offense. He was basically that for the last 2 seasons, which definitely wasn't bad, but last season was definitely inefficient. Going into this season, really looking for him to get some more opportunities on offense by himself, getting his own looks, getting his own shots, but also just playing at a high level and being pretty efficient. So if we can get that out of Jalen Green, I think we're pretty much golden. Looking at Alperen Şengün, I think going into this season, he's looking great. I mean, looking at the Turkish basketball team in the FIBA World Cup, they definitely look pretty good. Alperen Şengün specifically looked pretty good, looked more agile, looked like he can shoot the 3. So I think going into this season, if he can stretch the floor, if he can rebound the ball better, better passes, better everything, he's going to be here for a long time in Houston. I think he should be the long-term center for this team. I don't know, he's looking a lot more agile, which is definitely great to see from him, and really just him being a more dominant force on the defensive end. All right, so now we have the KPJ situation. So I think KPJ, he's going to become a bench player moving forward for this team, kind of like a 6-man type of role for this team, which definitely isn't bad, and I think it definitely fits him more than what we were trying to do with him previously, which is kind of force him into the point guard role. I think he's going to be the perfect 6-man for this team, a guy that can do both playmaking and scoring. He's done both of them in his career, but also a guy that can play some defense, can guard some 3s, and off the bench, him having that experience, being that point guard position, having that playmaking ability at the small forward position, I think he's going to be able to do a lot of things with Amen Thompson off the bench. So going into this season, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he was in the talks for the 6th Man of the Year award. Definitely would be well deserved, and I think he definitely could get that award if he works hard this season. So finally, we will be talking about the play-in and playoff push for this team. So looking at this team and how it's constructed, looking at Ime Udoka, looking at this overall team, I would suspect that at least they're a play-in caliber team. With having Fred VanVleet, having Jalen, having Dylan Brooks, Jabari, Şengün, this team is definitely good for the play-in. Now, in terms of playoff push, that's it's either 50 or 50, 50-50. I don't know. This team is definitely good, but it's not great to the point where they can be a playoff caliber team. I think at most they're going to be a play-in team. By next season, I'm hoping they are a playoff team, but as of right now, they're more or less a play-in team. And even if they do make the playoffs, more or less they're going to be either a first round or a second round exit. That in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, this team definitely has a lot of work. They definitely have a lot of potential, a lot of great young pieces, a great core, a good coach for once in Ime Udoka. I think now we've got to put the pieces together and just develop the players. So let me know what you guys think about the Houston Rockets, the new look Houston Rockets. They look pretty good. I think going into this season, they're definitely going to be one of the more enjoying teams to watch in the NBA. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the Houston Rockets. That's the end. I'm out.